Welcome to a V-BT05 rulings video. Bushiroad Japan has issued rulings for the V-Series' 5th mainline booster set, because reading is hard, when you realized that you wasted your money on Blaster Blade support in VEB06. Let's begin. Can I superior ride a grade 2 or 3 unit that was revealed by Zenon's ability on Blaster Blade while being treated as a Vanguard unit due to Gansalot's ability? Yes, you may. Since you had multiple Vanguard grades, you can superior ride a grade 3 unit over Blaster Blade. How much power does Morgana gain when Blaster Blade is being treated as a Vanguard unit due to Gansalot's ability? She will gain 15k power, because both Gansalot and Blaster Blade's total grade will be 5. Can I use Moran's ability when I call a Blaster Blade to the front row of the same column as this unit, when my Vanguard is Gansalot? No, you cannot. Blaster Blade will be called as a Vanguard unit due to Gansalot's ability. However, you can use Moran's ability if it was in the front row and you called Blaster Blade to his back row, because he will be considered as a rear guard unit. Does Gigantech Charger get 10k power when I call a Blaster Blade to the front row when my Vanguard is Gansalot? Yes, he will. Can I swap the position of a Blaster Blade being treated as a Vanguard unit due to Gansalot's ability with another rear guard unit in the same column? No, you cannot. However, you can swap a Blaster Blade that was originally in the back row with another rear guard in the front row. Can I stride or ultimate stride over a Blaster Blade being treated as a Vanguard unit due to Gansalot's ability? No, you cannot. You can only stride or ultimate stride on the central Vanguard circle. What happens to Blaster Blade being treated as a Vanguard unit due to Gansalot's ability when I drive check a critical or heal trigger while under the ability of Brandringer? For critical triggers, both Gansalot and Blaster Blade will lose 1 critical until the end of that battle. As for heal triggers, both Gansalot and Blaster Blade will take 1 damage each. Can I ride a grade 4 or higher unit over Blaster Blade being treated as a Vanguard unit due to Gansalot's ability? No, you cannot. Normal ride rules still apply. Can I ride once each on Gansalot and Blaster Blade being treated as a Vanguard during my ride phase? No, you cannot. Even if you have multiple Vanguards, you can only perform a normal ride once per turn. What happens if I call a Blaster Blade to the front row that already has a rear guard unit when my Vanguard is Gansalot? That unit will be sent to the drop zone due to an overloaded circle, because calling Blaster Blade was not considered a ride. What happens to Blaster Blade being treated as a Vanguard unit due to Gansalot's ability when I ride a unit over him? That Blaster Blade will go into your main Vanguard soul. Even though there were 2 Vanguard units, there is only 1 main Vanguard soul. Are circles with Blaster Blade being treated as a Vanguard unit due to Gansalot's ability still considered a Vanguard circle after a unit that's not a Blaster Blade rides over them? No, it will not. It will return to being a rear guard circle. However, you can use any on-place Vanguard ability that rides over Blaster Blade and or obtain an imaginary gift. Are circles with Blaster Blade being treated as a Vanguard unit due to Gansalot's ability still considered as rear guard circles? No, it will not. Can I use Full Moon Tsukuyomi's ability even if I have less than 5 cards left in my deck? Yes, you may. You do as much of the skill as possible. What happens to the trigger units on my 3rd or more drive check while under Decade Automata's ability when I used Platina Rezel's ability? The trigger units on your 3rd or more drive check will still get sent to the drop zone. But the triggers that were called to rear guard will remain on the field because they were not considered as a drive check. Will Pellinor that I superior road get to use Platina Rezel's ability on drive check even if I soul blast or my grade 3 units? Yes, he will. Platina Rezel only needs to check the soul for 2 grade 3 cards upon activating his ability. How do I resolve my abilities and triggers if I got a front trigger and called Kahedin with Platina Rezel's ability on my first drive check? Both Kahedin and the front trigger will be placed at the same time, hence Kahedin will get the front trigger's power if he was called to the front row. You cannot use Kahedin's ability before you resolve the trigger. After resolving the trigger's effect, you can then choose to use Kahedin's on-place ability before proceeding to your second drive check. How do I resolve my abilities if Jamie Congo rides over Tendo Congo and it was the only grade 3 unit in my soul? Both their abilities are placed on standby and you can resolve them in any order. It's best to resolve Jamie Congo first in order to make opponent discard their hand down to 4 cards, thus fulfilling Tendo Congo's conditions to be called to rear guard. Will Jamyakango's ability go off on my end phase if it was previously deleted? Yes, it will. During the end phase, returning any G unit face up in the G zone is done first, followed by turning all deleted and locked cards face up, and finally auto abilities with the end of turn conditions are activated and resolved. Can I use Gauntlet Buster Dragon's act ability multiple times? Yes, you may. It isn't restricted to once per turn. Can I call Rising Phoenix from my drop zone if it was discarded as a cost for Gauntlet Buster Dragon's ability? Yes, you may. It was already in the drop zone when Gauntlet Buster's ability was resolved. Would a unit with the ability to prevent them from being chosen by your opponent's card abilities still get bound by Gauntlet Buster Dragon's ability? Yes, they will. Gauntlet Buster does not choose opponent's units for its ability. Does Gauntlet Buster Dragon count open Axel circles? Yes, it will. Can I choose not to add a card from Crescent and Half Moon Tsukuyomi's auto ability? No, you cannot. You need to add a card then discard another, because you do as much of the skill as possible. Can I use Crescent and Half Moon Tsukuyomi's ability, even if I have less than 5 cards left in my deck? Yes, you may. You do as much of the skill as possible. Do I need to show my opponent what card I added to my hand with Crescent and Half Moon Tsukuyomi's ability? No, you do not. Can I choose not to superior ride the discarded Tsukuyomi unit respective to Crescent and Half Moon Tsukuyomi's ability? No, you cannot. You do as much of the skill as possible. Can I draw a card with Kahadin's ability if Howl was the card I called with his ability when I didn't have another Howl on the field? Yes, you can. Does Howl's ability apply to units that were placed before this card was called in the same column? Yes, it will. Howl's continuous ability refers to when other units in the same column as him have been placed this turn. It doesn't need Howl to be on the rear guard beforehand. Would my opponent still discard a card from hand due to Tamahagane's ability if I returned a token unit to their hand? Yes, they will. The token card would immediately disappear after it goes into the owner's hand, thus counting as a card returning from the field. Does Cho need to move the rear guard in the back row to the front after retiring the rear guard in the front row of that column? No, it does not. An ability that specifies up to 1 can be interpreted as 1 or 0. Can Cho bind a rear guard in the front row that can't be chosen by opponent's abilities? Yes, it can. Cho is selecting the column and not the unit itself. Can I soul charge a card with Uriel's ability or gain power with Macaron or Solid Kando Wizard's ability if I revealed a critical trigger with Tetramagus' ability? No, you cannot. Tetramagus reveals a card in hand and not from the deck. What happens when my opponent discards Wedge Move Dragon with Tsumugi Basho's ability? Your opponent can decide if he will discard it as a grade 1 or 3 unit. What happens when my opponent discards a Protect 1 marker with Tsumugi Basho's ability? Tsumugi Basho will not gain power because Protect 1 markers have a grade of Protect and has no numerical value. Can I move all my rear guards in the back row to the same front row circle due to Thunderbreak Dragon's ability? No, you cannot. They must be moved to separate open rear guard circles in the front row. Can Thunderbreak Dragon move units in the back row that can't be selected by opponent's card abilities? Yes, it can. Thunderbreak's ability does not select a unit, but rather affects the opponent's field. Can I move my rear guards in the back row to an open Axel circle due to Thunderbreak Dragon's ability? Yes, you may. Axel markers are rear guard circles in the front row. Can Thunderbreak Dragon attack a rear guard with Top Starseer behind it? No, it cannot. How does Zutan's ability trigger when multiple opponents' rear guards were bound at the same time? It triggers multiple times for each bound rear guard. Can I use Pluck Enchanter's ability when I called a Blaster Blade over it? Yes, you may. Pluck Enchanter's ability will be placed on standby once Blaster Blade is placed on the field before getting retired due to an overloaded circle. Can I use Pluck Enchanter's ability when both he and Blaster Blade were called to rear guard at the same time? Yes, you may. Can I use Convoy Angel or Diviner Angel's ability when they are discarded due to Jamyakango's ability during my end phase? Yes, you may. Can I soul charge a Protect 1 marker with White Hair of Inaba's ability? Yes, you may. The Protect 1 marker placed in soul will immediately disappear, but will still count towards paying the cost. Can I call units from hand to the Guardian Circle with the same grade as the ones my opponent forced me to call with Rin's ability when he uses Mizukaze's ability? No, you cannot. Having called a unit from hand to rear guard will count towards Mizukaze's ability. Also, units that were called from hand before using Mizukaze's ability will count towards grades that were called this turn. Can caster gain 5k power from her ability, even if opponent doesn't have a rear guard to bind, or a rear guard that cannot be selected by opponent's abilities? Yes, she will. You do as much of the skill as possible. Can I use a rear guard's auto ability when it was retired from Brat Arrow Dragon's attack? No, you cannot. Retiring a rear guard from an attack is part of the battle step. What happens when I call Zubail and he's the only rear guard on my field? You must bind Zubail himself due to his auto ability. Can I use Doran's ability if I discard it for the cost of striding? No, you cannot. Can I use Doran's ability if I use Detonix Drill Dragon's ability but my opponent doesn't have any rear guards? No, you cannot. You must discard a card in order to use Doran's ability. If an action is performed 0 times, that action is not performed at all. And that concludes this V-BT05 rulings video. Be sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments how you claim that all of these are all common sense, while also asking the same rulings that's already in the fucking video.